Hello. Okay. Hello, sisters. So this is the situation. I haven't eaten and I have food, but I felt bad that I scheduled to stream like almost an hour ago. For some reason, I had it in my mind that it was later, and then I finally I got a notification like while I was on the highway that was like GNC Centric is streaming in 5 minutes, and I was like, no, I'm not. Like I'm on the highway. So yeah, I have food. So the last chapter of the book. Also, yesterday. So it was all good and whatever, the protest. I was thinking we didn't get counter protested. We had like some individual TRAs who like walked by and like yelled at us. Um but yeah, there was no counter protest. It didn't seem right to me to like just like when some random person walks up to just start filming. Like if it had been a group I would have felt differently. So I didn't do that, but uh yeah, I also thought I might give you guys like a kind of debrief at the end of the day. But honestly, um, by the time I got home, I was kind of amped up, and I was like, "Whoa, maybe I should like do a stream, like start the next essay," and like, "Whoa!" But then I was like, "Actually, no, I'm tired. I should like not do anything for a bit." So here I am. Um, yeah, I think like I basically go to all the protests in Ontario and Quebec that I can like fit into my schedule. I try and schedule around them. So I actually go to quite a bit of stuff, like almost monthly. Um, like public things. So I might make it like a series, um, and I might even be in another part of Canada for one or two of the protests this summer. So I might make it like a series of like kind of like out in the field type thing. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, let me have like two bites of my sandwich and then we'll read the last chapter of this book and then I can rant about what my thoughts about this book. I thought that I would like between the last time we read it and now I would like have all these thoughts that percolated. But honestly, I feel roving reporter says honestly, I feel kind of like I don't know. I don't know. Anyway. Oh, okay. So, yeah, like okay, so Dragon is being like thank you for doing this because she says I'm always thinking of these women locked up with these predators in their prey pool makes me nuts. No, but, so when we do Dragon is disappointed in this book. Me too. I had like very high hopes for this book because I thought even if it was a bit gendery, I thought there would be more like I don't know, like kind of instruction in the book. Because like a bunch of the women who recommended it to me were like, "This is how you do grassroots," and like, no offense to those women, but I don't feel like I've learned any like really new. Like it mentions like telephone trees and like doing stuff in your living room and like at the beginning, like I don't feel like I got like any like really new information from it. So, um, yeah. And like Aquamarina, this is so Aqua says I think the book was not the best written or edited. It was very tell-all goofy to me. And like this is what the people on Goodreads say about the book. Like even the people most of the people have this kind of a view, right? That like she was trying to do too much. She was trying to like tell the history of the Avengers and her own story and like a smart like cultural context and like it didn't really come across. But like I didn't want to be that person who felt that way. I was like, I'm gonna get like a deeper view of this. No, it's like, yeah, I agree with you. Um, but anyway, Dragon. I went to a protest at Joliette Prison, which was like the federal female prison in Quebec, just like an hour outside Montreal. Um, a few months ago, before Christmas, and when we were there, the women in the prison were like cheering out their windows at us, and this was before I got there, but there was this woman who was like a singer who brought like a sound system and she was like singing to the women in the prison and apparently they sang back to her. So like the women in the prison know that we're there and they fucking appreciate it. Like also um I think it's GVI, Grand Valley Institute. I can't remember. But since yesterday, one of the prisons, like one of the English ones, changed their Facebook page and now the top of their Facebook page is like a picture of the protest. So like, um, and like Heather Mason was on Twitter yesterday saying that she was protesting in Kitchener, Ontario, which is like an hour and a half, 2 hours outside Toronto. Uh, and she said that the guards who were coming in and out, like for shift change and stuff, all of the guards like made a point of, well, not all, but like a bunch of the guards made a point of stopping and telling them like, we're glad you're doing this, like we agree, we support you. Because like this is something that doesn't get talked about a lot too, but like I don't know what the percentage, what the ratio is to female and male guards in female prisons, but there are obviously a lot more female guards in female prisons than in men's prisons, right? And they part of their job is to strip search the inmates. Like that's something that anyway. And so several of the guards now, I've seen Heather Mason like post screen caps of like guards who are texting with her or messaging with her, and they are like, yeah, like so I have to strip search this guy like while he's like has an erection and he's like grinning at me, but like I have to treat him like he's any other woman. Where like in a I think in a male prison situation they wouldn't make the female guards do that, but because it's a female prison situation and this person identifies as a woman, so it's like a fucked up thing for the guards too, not just the fellow inmates, right? Anyway, um, Possible Person says, yeah, I don't know why it was hyped up as a guidebook to activism. It's just as a badly written autobiography. Well, I've never read an autobiography cover to cover before, so I guess it can only get better from here. There must be some lesbian autobiographies that are better than this. Um, yeah, I don't know. Anyway. No, that's on my to read. So Frau's asking about All Girls and Twilight Lovers: A History of Lesbian Life in the 20th Century America, which is by Lillian Faderman. So my thought with Lillian Faderman is she is kind of like the lesbian historian, right? Like she's written a couple different books on like gay stuff and lesbian stuff and whatever. And I actually wanted to like go like chronologically through time. So I wanted to read like there's a book about like German nuns. There's I can't remember now, but there's like a bunch of different books that are like in like the 16th century, the 15th century, whatever. And like that's why I read that Sophistries first. That like they're literally like the actual reason I picked that book to read first was because it said it started in 40,000 BCE. So I was like, are they going to talk about like cave paintings or something? Like I don't know. I have no idea. I had no idea what it could possibly be that early in history. And I was like, this is going to be like the earliest books. I'll start this one. Um, and then it was bullshit. So but Lillian Faderman's the last book I read by her, which was The Gay Revolution, aside from the fact that it was very American centric. Oh, that was one of the reasons why I was like, I'm not reading that after like right away was like I just when things are like super American centric, like as a Canadian, it kind of pisses me off because like so much of our media is like that, like we basically don't exist. So when I'm reading a book that like that, it like kind of pushes the wrong buttons, you know what I'm saying? So I just needed to like give myself a cool off period. But yes, I definitely is 1000% a book that I'm going to read um, sometime soon. Okay, let me have like a few bites of my sandwich and then we're going to read the chapter and then I'm going to talk about the book. I read it in secret while staying with conservative Catholic Germans. OMG, bro. So do you have it in German then? Or do you read in English? Oh, I think I know who you're talking about, but I don't know this legal tender name. I don't know what this is, the name that you're talking about. But I did meet a woman like this at the Joliette prison protest who was like like an exited woman, a former prostitute who works with on that kind of stuff. Um, no, a possible person. You're looking at it the wrong way around. You shouldn't be looking for what groups are in my area. You should be looking at where are the turfs. When you find the turfs, even if you find I don't know what country you're in Germany, right? Even if you found like the turfs in Belgium or Switzerland or something, they will know who are the turfs in your town, who are the turfs in the closest city to you. No, exactly. That's what I mean. Like most of like the stuff that I do, it's like kind of casual. Like you can show up and just like be there for the protest and go to the pub after, or you can like take an active role. Um, I would say, like, find the TERFs in your country no matter what city they're in. And, like, Canada is fucking huge and it's actually small. You find a TERF from Montreal, they'll tell you, "Oh, I know a TERF from Vancouver," if you're from BC, right? I'm sure Germany is the same way. Oh, you're in the States. Why did I think you were in Germany? Um, yeah. Well, the States is a little bit different. I mean, find someone in your half of the country. Okay. Okay, let me tell you about my sandwich since you all seem very interested. There's not much lettuce because I don't really like lettuce, but there's like a lot of pickles and onions and olives. Whenever I go to Subway, I'm like, I need you to put like a kind of ridiculous amount of olives. I'm like, whatever you think is a lot, double that. It's just like mostly olive and like meatballs and extra cheese. Yeah. I don't know. Matt Adam, order some shawarma or something. Sideways eating. Subway, not food. I mean, it's the most food of the fast foods that I get. Olives, yuck. I love olives. Everyone is like sorry for me. Okay, so also by the way, hello cave monster. Okay, the last chapter. All right, and this chapter is like 4 pages. It's gonna be very fast. Oh hey Phil. Oh also, okay. So remember how last time we communally decided? Because who was it? I think it was Frau who asked me, like, would you have these men in a room with you? Like, if they entered a room with you, would you kick them out or something? And I was like, well, actually, yeah, that's like a no brainer. So she was like, I was like, I should teach this. I should treat this the same way. So the new rule is no men in the chat. We know that Phil is not a man. This is a woman. We talk. Okay, like in the live chat. But if somebody shows up and you're not sure if they're a man and you are a moderator, feel free to ask and also feel free to kick them the fuck out. Um, I know, Dragon. I know I drank Coke in front of you. I didn't mean to offend you, but I really like Coke. All right. K Monster, you were called a man today? By who? Why? Also, where are you? Are you in like a metropolitan area? Okay, answer these things while I read. Okay. It starts with it was still under my skin. What the it? What it? I don't know. I feel like she kind of ended off this chapter talking about how um, this was supposed to be like the Stonewall 2.0, and now they're like more connected because of like, um, the internet and whatever. But actually, it's not really happening that way. And like on one hand, she's like angry um, that like things have kind of rolled back a little bit, and on the other hand, she just feels like an all-consuming love for her sisters. So I don't know what it is that it stayed with me till the next whatever. Exactly. Mama. Mail removal council. Okay, well, my kind of plan with adding moderators was just all the people who show up like consistently who are not insane and who I think will not get overwhelmed. So I just added Mad Adam and Possible Person to be moderators. Cave Monster says, I was buying a rowing machine off eBay. Guess the seller just assumed I would be a male. I'm 5'1", for fuck's sake, I'm small. Um, hello, Odd Socks. Been a while. Okay. Maybe I should call the live chat the mail removal council. Like, yo, what's going on in the mail removal with the mail? Okay. Okay. Let's just read. Instead of speculating about what I think is about. All the people who show up consistently and aren't. Yeah, dude, I say what I think. That's what I think. Okay. All right. It was just under my skin when we got back home to Paris. How we could just disappear and nobody would notice we'd gone. One year for Christmas, I gave Anna a book called The Commissar Vanishes, about doctored photos in the USSR. One sequence showed a photograph of Stalin with three other leaders in the Russian Revolution. One by one, they were airbrushed, cropped, and clipped out of the picture until only Stalin remained. So it seemed like he alone was responsible for the revolution. That was us on the cutting room floor, the lesbian Avengers. What an embarrassment we were to everybody. So brash, so lesbian, so un American, rooted in the East Village art scene where people got up to all sorts of embarrassing things with chocolate and dyke artists weren't ashamed to portray raunchy sex or even two girls duking it out in a bad relationship. I couldn't believe we were ever featured in Newsweek. Yeah, the Avengers were gone, and who cared? Our goal now, a mature equality cultivated a mature equality, cultivating our grandmother's gardens. The cultivating our grandmother's gardens thing. Oh, hey, Lux. Is a reference to I don't. It's something about her childhood in Kentucky. I'm obviously not American. I haven't really spent more than a day or two in Kentucky. I think it's something to do. She was referencing like what they taught them in schools, like their value system or something about like cultivating your mother's garden. Like this is like what you have, like make it work for you and like appreciate it, whatever. Okay. Even if it had its practical side, I wasn't content. Wanted room for somebody to cry out in the queer wilderness. Lesbians, dykes, gay women, those are all in all caps. We're wasting our lives being careful. Imagine what your life could be. Aren't you ready to make it happen? Why had we dumped that utopian road, that powerful call to reimagine our lives? I was too tired to start over, but I couldn't stand how small they'd made us. I hate constraint, always had. Scratchy little tights, social boxes that appear as soon as the world takes note of you. I wanted to take up space. On my next trip back to New York, I scanned a bunch of stuff and added it to the tiny Avenger site I posted for the conference. I wrote a little article, then two. Then I enlisted Catalina Kroon for some of her photos. Look, there's proof we existed. It's my world too. My own goal. To be a splinter under society's fingernail. Create an annoyance for the forces of invisibility. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, there's like the Lesbian Avengers website. I think that's what she's talking about. She must have made this as like a kind of, I think that's what she's talking about. Um, because like the Lesbian Avengers website is kind of like an archive. Yeah, Lesbian Avenger documentary project is what it says when you like type it into Google, like the thing that pops up. There you go. All right. All right. While I was still in New York, Amy Parker invited me to give a talk on activism up at Harvard, where she'd become an administrator for the Women, Gender, and Sexuality department. The stock market had crashed by then, and some of the students were organizing demos around the mass firings at Harvard, but couldn't come up with much except walking around in circles with signs, even though some of them had studied queer activism in actual classrooms. Okay, but doesn't she have like a bunch of commentary on class and stuff like that in this book? Well, not a ton on class, but she does mention it. And she also mentions like like we're like working class, like with experience, and like that's different than like she literally criticizes like all these university educated women who start showing up, and she's like, oh, like they were like a different breed. They didn't have like the same attitude and motivation as us. And now is she basically being like, if you studied queer activism in a classroom, you should have a better idea of what to do. You're more equipped than other people on what to do. Like it's very inconsistent. Maybe I'm like assuming things. Maybe she will whatever. All right. I thought about activism in the United States and how it hadn't begun or ended with MLK. There were abolitionists and union organizers and the Boston Tea Partiers who would soon be hijacked, and the group from my own neighborhood, Up Against the Wall Motherfuckers, and went up there and showed the documentary and fielded questions, and generally felt like I should be in the Museum of Natural History. Afterwards, an activist up there asked me for my papers, and it was like proof I really was a fossil, a street activist in the age of the internet, with a gap showing between my generation and theirs, so vast that a couple of Avengers I talked to actually sounded a little embarrassed of having shouted in the street, though they were glad I had started documenting the Avengers. Of course, that was important, for the sake of lesbian history. No one else, though, seemed to feel it wasn't as urgent as I did. Maybe because their voices weren't as faint as mine, they didn't feel as invisible. Or maybe they remembered how it ended and were afraid somebody would find out that lesbian activists weren't always pretty, as if we were supposed to be immune to the usual activist infighting, the American curse of race. Not part of that enormous, evolving story. My friend Martha Burgess reminded me that the Avengers fought about a lot more than that. Like when the girls came and tried to get us to take on the case of Eileen Warnos. Ooh, we all know that name, don't we? A death row dyke who killed all those men in Florida. The problem was the girls weren't steady Avengers and seemed to pack the room with their friends. Martha turned up for the first time during this mess, and after opening her mouth to speak in favor of doing something for Warnos, was accused of being one of the people who were just there to swing the vote. She didn't come back. She was still pissed, telling me about it, though at least nobody did a Stalin and put an ice pick in their rival's head. We just wanted to. For a while now, people have also been rolling their eyes a little at the goal of visibility, like the idea is passe. I think this is my favorite chapter in the book so far. She is lamenting how like the clock has turned back on lesbian activism. She is lamenting that the current society doesn't know how to do activism properly. Like all they know how to do is like virtue signaling, right? She's like lamenting um I don't know. At least emotionally I'm on the same page as her in this chapter. Like, if this was the point of the book, to be like, look at what we've lost. I don't think she did a very good job of that, but I like this chapter so far. Yeah, apostle person, I agree with you, but I'm not sure if that's what she's trying to say. Like, the tone didn't seem like that to me. Apostle person says the studying of queer activism in classrooms should be an oxymoron, and I'm pretty sure it's the problem here. Very true. Okay, I agree with everything you're saying, Dragon. Okay, um, right, right. Like the idea of visibility is passe, right? Because LGBT, because everything's about the men now. So like, who gives a shit about the women? Like, I agree. Okay. Like the idea is passe. They'd expect it to do tricks, roll over and beg, save avalanche victims from a tub of rum. Sorry, with a tub of rum. And all it did was lie there. I always thought about visibility as a jumping off place, a precondition for having a voice. Because if you aren't visible in the culture or in the politics or even in the streets, how can you demand anything or participate like a grown up in the ongoing narrative of your country? We could disappear, and who'd have known we'd gone? In Paris, I remembered visibility could be even more basic, the simple desire to see a face like yours, hear your name pronounced. I really was thrilled to see the American dyke rocker Beth Ditto on TV, her body on the cover of that fashion magazine. After Obama got elected in the fall of '08, it seemed like every person of African descent in Paris walked just a little straighter. Some actually grinned from ear to ear, carrying newspapers with his face on it. Whatever I thought of him as a politician, he gave people hope, stiffened their spines. Visibility isn't change itself, but a kind of wedge others can follow, though we don't know toward what. The door itself makes no promises. It is only a door, says Adrian Rich. Lux, I totally know what you're saying. I very, very, very much agree. Yeah, I also found the phrase. I guess evocative is a nice word to use, but I mean kind of just like confusing and dumb, actually. Okay. Um, so her position is becoming more clear to me. She sees visibility as a stepping off point, but she's like, we don't even have the visibility. We don't even have that, the first part. So of course the second part is gone. And like if you take what she's saying and apply it to now, it's like things are worse than ever. Because what lesbian visibility we have is all about the peen, you know? Okay. We went back to New York in the spring of 2010. 6 months later, I made a trip to Louisville. My mother still lived there, as well as my father, his second wife, and my sister Kim's family. Vicky came in from Colorado with her husband and kid. It was the first time in 13 years. On the plane, I noticed all these guys with racing forms. The quote unquote reunion coincided with the Breeders' Cup at the Churchill Downs, and I spent the next few days imagining a baby popping competition. Things had changed, kind of. An out gay guy, Jim Gray, had just been elected mayor of Lexington, Kentucky. One teenager I met, lured into the ROTC by promises of rock climbing trips, passed a semester or two driving her colonel crazy, defending gays in the military and women's rights. Though across town, another young girl I spent several weeks circulating a petition to preserve the ill-fated don't ask, don't tell policy of the military, and she wasn't even in the ROTC yet. She wore bits and pieces of her brother's uniform, and the two did drills when they were bored. That was my niece, and everybody said she's exactly like me. Then there was my mother. When my cousin Donna picked me up at the airport, she told me she'd been lecturing my mother to be more accepting, or failing that, to bite her tongue. Quote, I don't know how I'd feel if one of my kids had made that choice, but you still have to love them and welcome them into your house. And their companions too, even if you don't agree with their lifestyle. End quote. I know that a lot of like woke young people think that this position is like very like homophobic or whatever. But like actually this is like a very practical thing to do. Be like, if we can't disagree, like I still love you. So that should be like we can still get along. Like yes. That's Yes, I agree. Okay. Like, she literally hasn't been home in 13 years, and to me, the big prevailing reason is that she's gay and her family doesn't like that. Like, if you wanna have a relationship with your kid, then just don't fucking be like that, you know? You don't have to, like, suddenly be agree with it, just don't be like a fucking douche, you know? Like, it's okay. Donna meant it kindly, but all I wanted to do was turn around and head back to my home planet, which dared rotate around the sun like Galileo's Earth without anybody's approval. I don't know. Yeah. Still, whatever she said to my mother worked. Mom didn't exactly ask after Anna, even if we've been connected at the hip for 18 years. Hello, Kiara. But she did button her lip, and because I did too, we passed our visit together in a relative truce, which is unlike the last time she went there, right? The last time she went there for when her grandmother was dying, she was kind of like, well, we'll see what happens, right? Anyway, okay. It was what I was there for, to visit parents who were aging at an accelerated rate, to show my face, which was the literal truth, especially for my mother, who can't stand the rest of me, particularly the rebellious brain packed with a lesbian life. Very little style involved. We looked at photos. She showed me her art. She'd taken classes at U of L, I guess University of Lexington, and began painting again years before. She'd drawn and done watercolors as a young woman, stopped when her new husband made fun of her. I tried to encourage her. We should have had this in common, but I heard that after I left she had resumed her diatribes against her no good, sinful daughter. The visit with my father was equally calm. I decided to let go of the grotesqueries of the past and was rewarded with a martini. Three, actually. After a couple of nights in a hotel and all I could gorge at the Dairy Queen, I went to stay with Adrienne. She was a girl from grade school who tracked me down at the Gully, which is like her. It was her online magazine from like 1999 to 2006 or something like that. Um, right. And wasn't at all put off by reconnecting with a big dyke. She had one as a sister in law, in fact, and she and her husband had actually gotten together when they both agreed some gay baiting guy at their church was an idiot. Her husband, who teaches social studies at a high school for at risk kids, told me the girls there were incredibly open, going around arm in arm, declaring they were lesbians, partly to provoke, partly to experiment, without knowing entirely what it meant. Queerish boys, though, they were more reticent. When one kid was from a troubled family, sorry, when a kid, when one kid from a troubled family came out as bi, his family was awful. A couple days later, he disappeared from school and hadn't been heard from since. Maybe they sent him somewhere else. Maybe he got the crap beat out of him and was in the hospital, or was dead. It's actually so interesting to me because I see like the opposite. Well, at least when I was in high school, was like the girls who were like dating other girls, like maybe they would hold each other's hands, maybe. The boys who were dating other boys would like sit on the floor and start making out in the hallway like the straight people. Like it was the boys were like very open with the fact that they were like, gay. And the girls who were dating each other were like very like quiet and about it. So it's the opposite of what she's describing here. Okay. I was back in Louisville just a couple of months later, not as a daughter, but to talk about the Lesbian Avengers. Another classmate, Lee, had invited me to do something for Women's History Month at the university where she taught philosophy. Yeah, this is very apropos that we're finishing it in Women's History Month, and the book ends in Women's History Month. So much had happened in the world. It seemed more like a decade that had passed since I'd been there. But you literally said it was 13 years, so that is a decade, isn't like okay, whatever. I guess continuity doesn't matter that much. Though I wasn't sure they'd noticed. Did students at an out of the way college know the Arab world had busted out and was getting called the glorious spring? That the triumph of nonviolent organizing was getting called a quote unquote revolution by internet, despite the crowds in the street day after day, despite the years of activism? Kids had occupied Wall Street, or tried to. Direct action was relevant after all. like the traditional media that amplified all the action on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, like making yourself visible to get support from the whole fucking world. It was already clear they'd need it. Trying to remake entire nations, Egypt and Tunisia, stood a better chance anyway than Iraq, where change had been artificially imposed. I chatted with the burly, bearded tech guy and discovered that he used to hang out in my neighborhood because his dad was a musician at the Toy Tiger Lounge, which I'd been told was a den of inequity. And after we laughed about that, he said, quote, "You're all right. I didn't know what to expect, but you're all right," end quote, which is high praise in that part of the world where they're freaked out as much by New York as the lesbian thing. When it was finally time, I gave my spiel and showed the movie. Afterwards, a couple of the young lesbians in the audience talked about how a gay student was beaten up in a school bathroom recently while a whole gang of kids looked on. Cops refused to classify it as a hate crime. Then a dyke activist from Louisville gave me a CD of Your Girlfriend, a lesbian band she'd played in during the early 90s, about the time I went to New York. Somebody else asked about the lesbian lifestyle, and I gave a lecture on the lesbian oatmeal I ate and the lesbian jeans I put on because I hadn't barbecued any infants in decades. That's funny. Oh, hey, Lisa. The next day, the aging, twanging mother of a lesbian shop owner actually recommended a gay friendly church. And at a party, a young black lesbian said she'd finally worked up the nerve to come out, but was totally deflated when her father said it was no big deal. Ditto for when she announced she wanted to be a drag king. Quote, "Well, you better go buy you some clothes," end quote, was the response. At a dyke bar, she didn't know anybody, but her dad spotted a friend and her partner. Quote, "Look, there's so and so," end quote. She said the worst of it in Louisville was the racial segregation among queers. Her closest friend was a young white fag, and they got hassled a little whenever they went out together in bars and clubs. "Quote unquote, what are you hanging out with him for?" "Quote unquote, why are you with her?" The two shared a house with his white boyfriend who was from rural Kentucky. He told me he came out with no problem, though his father was still struggling with it. Online, he found other young queers from the same region, and they had a little network. Some of them had even begun moving back home. He was considering it himself and planned to enlist the help of progressive nuns to get something going in the area if he did return. We stared at each other in mutual awe. They thought it was cool I was living in New York and had been a lesbian Avenger and had made it as far as Paris. I was impressed that they were still at home, in Kentucky, smack dab in the middle of the Bible Belt. I could never have imagined their lives. I could never have imagined my own. After all, I was going to be a medical missionary, a doctor, pouring out the balm of Gilead, sorry. Instead, there I was outside the city, blowing a toy trumpet, staring at crumbling walls. That's it. Okay. What time period was this? I'm late. The book ends in like 2000 and well after Obama. She's very unspecific about things. We know Obama was elected in the last chapter, so after 2008, I guess. So the book's time span is basically like 1992 to 2000 and yeah, like 2010 ish. Like it's not clear, but okay. Acknowledgements. Readers should be aware that this is not an exhaustive history, especially of the New York Lesbian Avengers. Far more people contributed than are mentioned here. For the sake of the book, I had to make cuts, not additions. On the other hand, what I did include is as accurate as possible, though in a few instances, for example, when I was informed that I once had 3 roommates instead of 2, I decided to let the original description stand. Our lives are shaped as much by the stories we cobble together with our memories as they are by the actual details. Partly for this reason, I made a conscious decision to use full names only for people who are public figures, at least in a limited sense. It can be unsettling to see your name pop up on Google or in a book, especially if you don't remember things quite the same way. The only 2 pseudonyms in Eating Fire are Faustina and Catherine. Isn't Faustina the one who. One of those two is the one who, like, ripped her pants down and, like, basically assaulted her? Okay. In general, this book owes a great deal to ideas explored in the Gully online magazine and New York's Gay City News, which is another publication she wrote for. But my biggest thanks goes to those joyful troublemakers and unapologetically big-mouthed dykes, the lesbian Avengers. This book is for you. We're done the book. Okay, so let me see what you guys are saying, and then maybe I'll give some like final thoughts. You guys are talking about like dating apps. I actually found like the more turfy I make my profiles, like I don't even believe in online dating. I just want to find turfs in my area. Like I mean for myself. Like you do what you want, obviously. But um the more turfy I make my profile, like I have made some profiles. Like I actually got banned from her once. I don't know what kind of a banning it was because I just used a different email and signed up again. But I got banned from her once, and my profile, like the whole profile was just turf memes, and like the whole bio was like very very turfy, and that's when I got the most likes from Tim's, because like I don't know if it's like the reason they're on there, because I think a lot of them are like delusional and they think that like there's actually like lesbians who like because they don't believe in the concept of a female homosexual, right? So I think a lot of them don't really understand, like they just are like, oh yeah, I'm on here, right? But I'm pretty sure the ones who liked me specifically, like the more turfy my profile got, it's like about breaking boundaries, right? It's about transgressing boundaries. So then I'm like, I don't know. It just makes me think a lot. Like, is that the reason they're on the app only to transgress boundaries? Like they're not even thinking that like this is for, do you know what I mean? I don't know. Like I would view it that way. But I'm trying to understand like what they're thinking, you know? It's probably a fool's errand because they're nuts. All right. Even at one point, it said rad femme in my dating profile, and a ton of queerios were like, "I'm a radical feminist," and I literally would be like, "Oh, like what piqued you? Like when did you leave liberal feminism or something?" And they were like, "Oh, what do you mean?" Because they don't know fuck all about anything, so they just hear the word radical and think like, "Oh, that's like cool. That's like revolutionary, and like that's what the queers are." They don't know anything about anything. But like the Tims, they know. They know what a turf is. They know what a like they know. Okay. Um, Maybe they thought I was trolling. I don't think so. Yeah, giggle, like, the concept is good, but it definitely hasn't reached critical mass. Radical feminist, you mean a feminist who can ollie. Okay, so, because we're radical, dude. Okay, so, the book. Let's kind of go section by section. So, starts out activist honeymoon. So just explaining, like, she was in New York, she's following her lesbian friends around. A bunch of them went to this meeting that was like, let's do a lesbian thing. That was like the first meeting, like forming the lesbian Avengers. And then she got like really into the activism. At first, she was kind of sitting back, and then she kind of got like more into it. Oh, hey, ghost! And the more she got into it, the more she felt like hopeful and confident, whatever. Then the second section is the infighting. It's like very like enemies within. It's like very I mean, I guess it depends what you consider within, but it just seemed like up to that point in the book, she was talking so much specifically about the lesbian Avengers that when she starts talking about infighting and it's actually with these like other lesbian groups like Las Buenas Amigas and the African Ancestry, like there was two different lesbian groups. One was from the Bronx and one was from Harlem, I think. And they were all working with like her like subgroup of the lesbian Avengers, and that's where the infighting went down. It was actually like with the Las Buenas Amigas. So it's like I don't know if that's like enemies within because it's not like in the lesbian Avengers. Well, it kind of became that. Like once the drama went down, then a bunch of the lesbian Avengers were like, "Fuck you for messing shit up." I don't know. Yeah, that was the second section. What was the third section? A laboratory of identity. Oh my god. This is where she gets like really into race and moving to France and like her existential like and like what am I like as an American, like as a citizen of the world, like who am I, blah blah blah. Um Shatter walks. Are you asking about weed things? Like shatter, wax, and resin. I don't really have anything to like consume that with. And it's like the handful of times that I've tried that kind of stuff, like it's like so like potent. Like it's like I get punched in the chest with it. Like it's really strong. Um, yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was the third part. And the third part, I mean, kind of like narratively, not like metaphorically and like whatever. It's just about like her moving to France and acclimating to being in France, that kind of thing. Um, I'm so used to moderating by myself. Oh, hey, Maple. But when all the like held for review messages get put through, I'm like, oh, like who did that? Okay. And then yeah, four is the Vivas to those who have failed. That's when she goes to Cuba. Oh no, wait, did she go to Cuba in the third section? Oh yeah, no, yeah. So the third section is like her and Anna moving to France and getting acclimated with that, and also her going to Cuba and like learning a bit more about the Cuban stuff. Um, oh, dude, you don't have to. That's so nice of you. You don't have to. It's okay. Um, oh yeah, yo. Okay, I'm gonna be in Toronto next week. Although I definitely live in Toronto, right? So I'm gonna be in Toronto next week. So if you are Torontonian and you're watching this, email me, yeah. Um, Dragon and I will definitely hang out. Yeah, smoking is really smelly. Um, Torona, Torana. um, you should totally start a skateboard radical feminist club. Have you seen those like skateboard groups in like Afghanistan and stuff of like these little girls? Oh, I'm sure since all the Taliban shit went down in the last recently, it stopped. But there was like I've seen a few of these like skateboarding like clubs that are all girls in like these Muslim countries is really awesome. Okay, okay, hybrid. If you have to buy me something hybrid, I guess. You're like, I'm buying you something. Okay, well, I'm gonna bring you something too then. Okay. Kaz says, when I first came across a real RadFem account, I agreed with so much of what I saw. At first, I tried to still be inclusive of trans women, but that lasted all of a few days after I saw Tim's telling a woman she was lying about being R-worded by a Tim and they mocked her for it. Yep, that'll do it. When I was a kid, I wanted to be like Tony Hawk so bad. I can roller skate, but I never ever tried to skateboard. I will roll on my face. No way, Frau! Frau says, you've inspired me, and I've just bought tickets to the Philia conference in Cardiff in October. Ah, fuck. October. I'm trying to think of, like, what I'm doing next year, and also when I will have money. I think I'm gonna be, like, because I'm gonna be traveling in the summer, I think I'm gonna kind of be broke over the summer. I think by October, I will not have the money to be, like, flying all over the country. I mean, the world. But I really want to do something in the UK in 2022 or 2023, like in the next year, basically. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 is the best video game of all time. Isn't that like a PlayStation 2 game? Yo, you're from Cardiff? Bro, that is where Torchwood is shot. I need to go to that. You know, in Torchwood, I assume you've all watched it just because you are from the UK. You know, in Torchwood, how like before they go into like the underground lair, they're always in like this big, huge plaza with like this huge building behind them, and it's like very like stark and bleak in like this kind of beautiful way. I need to go there. I don't know where the fuck it is, but I need to go there. I've always wanted to go there. Tony Hawk 2 is for Nintendo 64. Okay, never mind. Yes, we can totally sit in a park and have burgers. Dragon, this is what we will do next week. Come to Cardiff and have a toke with you. I will totally have a toke with you, Phil. Um, right, okay. That's like the one good thing. And when I know when I'm traveling, I'll probably be able to not have to pay for places to sleep. Be like, do you have a couch I can sleep on? For PlayStation 2 as well, you were right. Wow. It's by the bay. So you guys have actually watched that show. You know, I don't know. All my thoughts about that show are like were developed during my transness, so I feel like they're kind of stupid. It definitely feels more the storyline of Torchwood feels more well thought out than the current Doctor Who, which is fucking garbage. Like the writing, like in a long story form. Like, I don't know, whatever. Like the Doctor Who was so good and then they fucked it up. Who the fuck knows? Okay, whatever. So, the book. Overall, okay, my Goodreads rating system is really harsh. I'm going to explain my Goodreads rating system to you now and I will rate this book. So, on Goodreads, it's out of 5 stars. The only book that get 5 stars are books that I have read twice. It has to be good enough that I will read it twice. Like either I'm definitely gonna read it twice, or I have already read it twice for it to get 5 stars. Okay, 4 stars is like this is a very very good book. I very much enjoyed it. 3 stars is like this book wasn't shit. 2 stars is like finished the book. It was like not horrible, but obviously I finished it. 1 star is like I probably didn't finish this, or if I did finish it, this is like one of the most like abhorrent pieces of literature I've ever read. I would give this a 2 star. I got to the end. It wasn't like morally repugnant. I didn't feel like I was gonna like, shoot myself in the face. Like it was fine. But I didn't really like super enjoy it. I don't know. South Yorkshire. I don't know, guys. I feel like I have so many things I want to do in the UK. I feel like I basically need to take like a 1 month vacation and like travel, like rent a car or something. No, I need to borrow a car from a woman who has an extra car, if such a woman exists, because I'm poor. And then so I can drive the fuck all over the UK. I really need to go. I really want to go to Scotland. Um, my clan is Logan. I'm only 2 generations away from my Scottish, or 1 generation away from my Scottish family, and I forget. I've been told which city my family like descends from in Scotland. I don't know what it is, but I also want to go to Cardiff. Also want to go to London. Obviously, I've been to London before, but I didn't get to see much of it. Maple. Email it to me. What did you do? What did you find? Out of 5 or 10, I would give it a 2 out of 5. Like, I don't know. Just the stuff that I put in 1 is like so is like the kind of thing that I'm like, I think my brain has been injured by reading this. I don't think this is that level. But Purple says, I started this book a few years ago, but DNF, which is like did not finish. Are you on Goodreads? Are you in all those book clubs? But I didn't finish. I wanted to listen to your reading to see if I missed anything, but nah. Yeah, that's generous, Benji. Well, also, it's like a lesbian author. Just the fact that the author is lesbian, to me, I don't know. I was also like, still an F, but a different F. Exactly. That is how I think of it. Um, what did you rate the last book? Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure I rated this a 5. Because even reading this, I keep thinking, or even like talking to people on Getter or like in protest, like I keep thinking of the stuff in this book. Like it keeps coming up in my mind. I keep thinking about it. I am pretty sure after I read, okay, so remember how I was like, we're gonna read fiction? What do you guys think? I was like kind of into it, but then I'm like, is it like useful? But then I'm like, does it need to be like educational for it to be useful? I don't know. Anyway, I rated this a book of 5 because first of all, it was fucking amazing. I feel like my brain was being exercised. I love how articulate the author was. I love the like separatist stuff it was talking about, like the concept. Like I freaking loved this book. And I am 100% sure that whether it's now or in 2 years, I'm going to reread this book and like reassess all the new stuff I've been thinking about since the last time I've read it and like reassess everything. Um anyway. So yeah, this book got for sure is getting a 5. I'm pretty sure I gave Sophistries Um, a 2. If I did though, I kind of now looking back and regretting it, and maybe it should have a 1 star. Just like again, it has a lesbian author, so I want to like give lesbian authors higher ratings because algorithms and whatever, but this book was like repulsive. And then the last like book of this genre that wasn't because like 90% of 99 like aside from what I've read with you guys, like everything I read is fiction. Okay, so this is the last nonfiction I read, which is Lillian Faderman for I brought up the other Lillian Faderman. This is I got this book because somebody spilled beer on it and it was 30% off. And I was like, great, this is the time to buy it, if ever. And I did feel like it was kind of like an overview, like it was kind of like a good starting off point, but a very, very American centric, which pisses me off as a non American, obviously, or not obviously if you're an American, maybe. Um, like, there's definitely some books that I'm like happy to go and lie that I've read them and put like 5 stars. Like I never read all of Transsexual Empire, but I probably have given it a 5 star review. Stuff like that I'm like I want the Goodreads algorithm to show this to more people so they could like potentially get outside their box, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Maple says it was quote many members of the Chicago and Boston lesbian Avengers end quote who supported Camp Trans in 1999. They were basically all TIFs and NBs. LA were officially disbanded by then. Yeah. Yeah, Lesbian Avengers. Yeah, because Lesbian Avengers officially disbanded in 1998, right? Hello, purple. Purple is my favorite color. Oh, you guys don't. You probably can't tell. Like, a lot of my clothing is purple. My hair used to be purple, obviously, but like my hat is purple. My sweater is purple. Oh, you saw in the live stream, everything I was wearing is purple. I was even wearing a purple shirt. Um, oh, you guys all love that book too. I know, right? So I don't know, but okay. So I'm kind of in a bit of a weird situation. Remember how I was like, the point of me reading stuff is to make things that are inaccessible more accessible? The way I conceptualized of that was like books that are hard to get your hands on. So far, most of what I've read, everything that I've read on here, you can like go and buy that. Like it's not hard to get your hands on. So, should I be going out of my way to get like really hard to get books and read those on here? Or should I just keep reading stuff that I think is like needs to be accessible, like in the general sense of like, let's hang out and talk about it? Because after reading The Politics of Reality, I was like, I need to read Sarah Hoagland. For those of you who don't know, Sarah Hoagland is like a lesbian separatist philosopher. She writes more about like ethics, morality, rather than like metaphysics and ontology, right? So I was like, great, let's do that. But they're very easy. You can just go buy them online. So I'm like, is that too accessible? I kind of don't care. That's what I want to read next. Um, so yeah, as you've probably seen, I've put up the title cards for this. Like I've scheduled this, but let's actually have a vote right now. Let's do that. Oh, Purple Gray, The Politics of Reality is my favorite radical feminist book ever. Was so excited to see someone reading it. It's not talked about much. Yes, because I was like, I want to see like not just lesbian separatist or lesbian feminist like theory or lesbian feminist practice. I want to see like the philosophy of it. Like, I don't know, I fucking love philosophy. Okay. I just bought Double Think by Janice Raymond and haven't started it yet. Ooh, yeah. I think the Lesbian Avengers dissolved in 1997, but yes, okay, yeah. Uta says, I love your glue spray idea for stickers and passing that to people all over. It's not actually me. It was Jenny Swain, the woman who was arrested in Wales for her stickering. She's the one that I heard that from. I think in one of her interviews about it, she said that's what she does. Um, yeah. Ooh, you're currently reading Gender Hurts. Yeah. Purple Supremacy. Purple is the best color, we can all agree. Everybody loves purple. It's the most lesbian color. I can't tell you why, but that's how I feel. You bought a purple, green, and white scarf for standing for oh my god. You know, like the tartan store or the tartan shop or whatever, that one from like Scotland who makes like the official tartans? They have like a suffragette scarf. It's so beautiful. And it's obviously like cashmere and everything and like handmade and everything. It is like 38 pounds, which is like, I don't know, like $100 Canadian. And I will definitely not spend that much money on a scarf, but it's so beautiful. Okay. Hmm. You should only read purple books. Well, it's decided then. This is the next book I have to read because the bottom is purple. I think what I've decided, the first couple of like title cards I made, I was like, I'm gonna be like original and whatever. No. I think I'm just gonna try and make the title card look like the cover of the book. I mean, at least for this and the last book, it's kind of worked. Okay. The color is the book the color purple? Oh yeah, doesn't the original cover wasn't it purple? Okay. Madam says also I was thinking about accessible as in things that are easy to analyze. So to me, inaccessible would be things that would help to have a group to analyze with you instead of trying to analyze them. Okay, that's what I'm talking about with the philosophy. I'm like, how many women are gonna go out of their way to like buy a lesbian separatist philosophy book and like about ethics, right? And then if you do, who are you gonna talk to about it? No one. So okay, you're gonna knit me a scarf. That's really nice of you. Um, what's owls? What is that? The Color Purple is such a sad book. Dude, I don't want to read the book. I don't want to see the movie. No, no. None of that shit. I avoid when I read fiction, all of the fiction I read has happy endings. I don't care if I have to spoil the book. I'm not reading something fucking depressing. I don't need that shit in my life. Like reading about gay history already. Like, did you guys see some of the way I was reacting during the Sophistries book? Like, it's already upsetting and oh, online women's liberation studies. Oh, Jane Claire Jones, right? Um, what? Another website, Call Books. Okay, like there's already some books, some websites with free second wave literature in the description. So I'll add this one to it. Okay, older wives are lesbian. That's what I thought Owl was. Yeah. Um, yes, email me, Maple. Purple rain. The purple flag should replace the TRA flag. Yeah, I actually have one that Gay Chapman sent me. I thought it was under my bed, but it's not. So I think it might be in the back of the closet. I don't know. I'm moving in 2 months. Then hopefully I'll find it. And if I don't find it, I'm buying a fucking another one. Um, Uta says, is anyone going to try to go to Madison, Wisconsin for the Sister for Sister event, April 22nd to April 25th? Yeah, so I heard about that. Um, but honestly, it's too late for me, and I have to go. It's kind of like an unintentional female situation. Um, me, my mother, and my grandmother are all driving up north to visit my great grandmother. Just the four, so it'll just be the four generations of women all hanging out together. I'm either Clan McPherson or Clan Donald. By the way, on the subject of Scottish ancestry, that's cool. The only thing I have with my tartan on it is like a scrunchie, because it's like apparently Logan is like kind of like tiny clan, so you have to like custom order the kilts. So I have a kilt, but it's like purple and black. So okay, so yeah, those are my thoughts on the book. I don't even know if I really gave my thoughts on the book. I've been giving my thoughts on the book for many hours over like a week and a half period now. Um, I don't think it fits me. I don't remember the last time I put it on. Okay, so guys, this is what we're deciding. Is this the book we're reading? Or is this the book we're reading? Would you like to read? Even this book, though. So, this is what I thought I would do. This book is like a bajillion essays. This book is like. This book is 20 essays, okay? And they are long essays. Like, the politics of reality, some of the essays were like, you can do a poll in live chat. I've never done it before. Create a poll. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, it's 20 essays, but they're in subsections. So the first section is called identity, and there's 5 essays. So I thought what we could do is like we can do like 1 week we can do like the 5 essays from this, and then we can do like a different book or something. And then we can a week or two later we can come back and do the next 5 essays from the next section. And then we can do a different thing. You see what I'm saying? So we can do all the identity essays, all the relationship essays like all together, but we don't need to do like all 20 essays back to back. I don't know. It's not like there's a rush. Even if we read this now, we can read this next, right? But this is like one of the books that I actually think it's hard to get your hands on. So I feel like I should be. Most of you are voting for the essays. Everybody's like, Paul. Oh, you're very welcome. I'm happy to read to you guys. Read from the back and we'll have a vote. Oh, read from the back. Okay. This pioneering anthology brings together a diverse group of 26 feminist writers, therapists, and academics. Their work represents the beginning effort to capture the experience of contemporary American lesbians. Writing about their own lives as well as the lives of the women they have observed and counseled, the authors explore 4 topics central to building a lesbian psychology: identity, relationships, community, and therapy. The book addresses such questions as: what is the healthy lesbian? What do we know about her many ways of being and the various forces that shape her sense of herself as a lesbian? How do age, race, and ethnicity affect her identity? What are the sources of extraordinary strength and joy inside lesbian couple relationships? Why does sexual activity often decline over time? How do lesbians build families? What is the impact of quote-unquote coming out on families and children? What is the lesbian community, and how can we understand the conflicts that are part of the community life? What stereotypes about lesbians must be discarded as mental health workers and others consider the diversity of lesbian experience? The 21 contributors include essays on identity by Carla Gold and Olivia M. Espin. Okay, how do you pronounce it? I'm gonna ask my roommates. It's like an I with like a dash over it, like an accent. Rebecca Schuster, Buffy Dunker, Lee Zevi, Sally Caballero. Ooh, I can't imagine being named Knight. My last name, that'd be cool. Oh yeah, like there's that like murder mystery TV show from the early 2000s in Canada. It's called like Forever Night. No, whatever. Caballero. Okay, relationship by Margaret Nichols, Beverly Birch, Norma Garcia, Cheryl Kennedy, Sarah F. Perlman, Julia Perez, Sue Vargo, Sherry Zilter, Sally Crawford, Marjorie Hill. Therapies by Liz Margulies, Martha Becker, Carla Jackson Brewer, Margaret Nichols, Eileen Starzepizel. I don't know, man. It's like Polish or something. I'm definitely not pronouncing it right. Lee Nikoloff, Eloise Stiglitz, and Laura S. Brown, and Community by Sarah F. Perlman, Bonnie J. Eghart, Catherine Triantafiu, and Francine Lee Raynon. Yeah, so that's this book. This is very short. It's like 2 sentences. Introducing Pam Nielsen, her twin sister Penny, and the Best Printing Collective. It's like all capitalized, the Best Printing Collective. a Seattle print shop hovering on the brink of a merger with lesbian-owned B Violet typesetting. When sabotage and murder erupt, Pam follows a trail of suspects, ranging from the politically correct to the sexually intriguing, and discovers as much about her own heart as about whodunit. Okay, TBH, after reading that, I want to read this next. So I kind of might disregard the poll. Although you're all voting for the lesbian. Is lesbian bed death a real thing? Alexa, or sorry, Karen, what is this research that you are so passionate about? Oh, Purple Gracie just said she just read this last week. The one in your hand. It's up to you in the end, Benji. True. No, I know the concept of lesbian bed death, but I thought it was like a thing straight men came up with. Well, apparently some of them think it's real. Who knows? We'll see. Okay. Also, depends who you're with. Also, Jesus fucking, for the fuck's sake, can you like fuck off a little bit? Oh, Jesus, okay. When I'm reading this, should I do it like an audiobook or should I like be commenting on it? I kind of want to do like commenting on it because I just want it to be like more relaxed. But yeah. Kara says I think it's something that happens to couples regardless of orientation. Yeah. I mean, if you're together for like 20 years or whatever, right? And especially probably your age. Not to say that old people don't like having sex. Old people, whatever that means. But I'd love to have comments with it. Your remarks are so engaging. Oh, okay. Okay. I have decided. I'm going to end this stream and start this book right now. The reason I have decided this is one, because I've been feeling very anxious lately about the readings. Generally, and I think like doing fiction might change that, but also because it's like 200 pages. Like, guys, with the rate that we read at on the channel, we can get through this in like 3 days. Okay. I'm an Old Testamentaler doing psychoanalytic literacy readings on the Book of Job. Also really tragic, hopeless women texts. Oh, interesting. Your readings are A's. Oh, thanks. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up and start the next thing. It's not like a scheduled one. I'm just gonna start it. Oh, hey, Lisa. Okay, I'm just gonna start it. So give me a sec. Okay, bye. Bye. Hannah, say goodbye.